Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Sean Holko, alongside my guys, Mr. Kevin Dent, Mr. Jaevon Toddy, and Mr. Kaz Johnson of Just Casually. We're back for another episode, number 177, coming to you today on January 26, 2026. And we got a fun episode for you all today. We have a very special guest. And so, Kevin, if you could, please tell the listeners who our special guest is.
Yes, everybody. So I know you guys saw the headers. NFL veteran Jerry Bell. This one hits home for me. This is my uncle. I saw him do it. I saw pictures. I've seen it all. So it was nice to get him on here. In 1982, he was drafted in the third round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he would play 5 seasons. He played his college football at Arizona State. And he was luckily able enough to play 5 seasons in the NFL. And he was also on the NFL Players Association. He was one of the player reps. So please, thank you, Uncle Jerry, for joining us today. And we're happy to have you.
Welcome, Uncle Jerry. We appreciate you joining us. As I just clicked him on the screen. It looks like, at least on my end, he's loading up. Forgive me if that's only on my end.
No, it's on all of us. I'll shoot him a text.
Okay. It was weird. He was there the whole time until right when I clicked it, and then the screen went black. So we're dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties. Thank you all for bearing with us. While we get Jerry back on the screen, Toddy, I want to toss it over to you. How are you doing this week?
Hey, man, one man's trash, another man's treasure. Sam Darnold, he's been thrown to the wolves left and right. Adam Gase, Adam seeing ghosts. Matt Rule, he's now the head coach for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Didn't know what he was doing in the NFL apparently, and then stumbles upon the Seattle Seahawks. Gotta give respect or credit where credit is due. Hey man, he went to the Niners, and then all of a sudden he started going to the playoffs, and then going to the Super Bowl. Throwing touchdowns in the playoffs. Just hey, just saying. When you learn from the best, I guess that's just what happens. So, props to the Seahawks. As crazy as that sounds for me to say, I'm just shocked to see that. Of all people, once upon a time, Sam Darnold was number 3 overall pick, and yeah, that talent was in there somewhere. So, got to give credit where credit is due. But I'm doing good. Patriots back in the Super Bowl. That's crazy. Sorry, this is kind of big. Want to give a huge shout out to little brother Frank. Had his second pro debut fight in Long Beach. Another TKO. He's 2-0. His professional record. He's a pro boxer, so I don't know if he's too Hollywood to come on here now, but we got to get him on the show.
We got to pay him.
Before he blows up and starts fighting in Vegas. So, want to give you a shout out to him. Had his pro debut in Long Beach, California. Had a knockout in the second round. Not sure when. It was pretty early though, but at least it wasn't 26 seconds like the first fight. This one was a little bit around 4 minutes. it's still pretty quick, but kid's on his way.
Yes, shout out to Frank for getting another big dub and representing your family well. And we have been dealing with technical difficulties, but I believe that we have them resolved. So now joining us is none other than NFL veteran Kevin's uncle, Mr. Jerry Bell. Thank you for joining us, Jerry.
Hey, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I was having a little technical difficulty. I had to switch from the laptop to the phone thinking it was me. But thanks for having me.
It's all good. It gets to the best of us. We really appreciate you joining us. And we're going to be recapping the conference championship games today. As Toddy was mentioning, the Seahawks beat the Rams in the NFC West battle, as well as the Patriots beating the Broncos in the snow, which Kaz is used to very much so in Iowa. And a lot of people would call it football weather. Jerry, could I get your thoughts on that real quickly? Would you characterize playing in an absolute whiteout where there's snow everywhere? Would you characterize that as football weather, or is it something else to you?
No, that's really old school football weather, right? I mean, now with the dome stadiums and all, you shouldn't really have to play in that stuff. But hey, it's you play with what they put in front of you. It's snow, rain, or whatever. You got to play it, and it affects different people. It really got to us coming from Tampa to go to say Green Bay to play in snow and cold because we're so used to 80 degrees all the time. But the folks you live in New England, you live in Denver. It didn't affect it. It didn't affect them that much mentally. So.
Yeah, that's a really great point. The Patriots really seem to be the team that was really built for a moment like that, just given the environment that they're used to and that they practice in on the regular. And so let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. As the Patriots beat the Broncos 10-7 in the AFC Championship game, we've been seeing on social media the trend of throwing it back to 2016. Well, we threw it back to 2016 yesterday as the Patriots and Broncos once again faced off at Mile High before they end up getting a new stadium. And so, Kevin, I'm going to toss it to you first on this one. What was your reaction to the Patriots beating the Broncos 10-7 in a defensive battle?
Well, I'll tell you what, Toddy and I were going back and forth. We mentioned the group chat a lot. We were like, man, the Broncos came out to play. Jarris didn't have first 3 and out, and then he had that huge play. The one and only Christian Gonzalez got burnt. I don't think it ever happened again, but the one time it did, it led to a scoring drive. Broncos fans had hope. I had a lot of Bronco fans that I know said, Kevin, how did you feel with Nick Foles going into it? And I was like, well, Nick Foles had a regular season game He didn't just first game was taking off the helmet, put on the cleats in the NFC Championship game. I feel a little bit worried. But Jarrett Stidham, he played a great game. He did have some mistakes. The weather, I know, had to play a factor into it. First half, clear skies. You come out of halftime, a little bit of snow. They're saying how it really only affects one team going towards the snow, and then timeout comes out. You can't even see the white lines. So the Broncos had a hell of a game. They made every play to win that game, even with Stidham playing the way he did. So I know a lot of people, including myself, are going to say it would have been a lot better to see Bo Nix, the guy that got you to the finish line. You would love to see him, see what he can do. We've seen Bo Nix have crazy comebacks, including against the Eagles. He was down 33-0 against the Giants, came back and won. So Bo Nix single-handedly really won this team a lot of games. And I'm sure Uncle Jerry would attest to it. You're used to doing so much for so long, and then you have a week to prepare with a guy who hasn't taken a snap all season. He was the first guy to appear in an AFC Championship game as a backup quarterback that didn't take one snap all season. So there's a lot of backups that get to play, but they play at some point throughout the regular season. He did not take one snap in the regular season. So it's cadence issues. It's running the right routes. You saw that he was really just throwing the ball to Cortland Sutton. They have a lot of guys like Marvin Mims. They have a lot of Evan Ingram. They have a lot of other guys that can get the ball going. But you can really tell early on that it was going to be a Cortland Sutton show. So he did the best that he could. And from a Patriots standpoint, they've looked awful. I wanted to say that they haven't really looked like the regular season Patriots all year. But before anyone else is able to get this stat off, they were the first team in NFL history to go 9-0 on the road. So that's crazy to think. And I know Toddy's thinking in his head, well, Kevin, you made fun of us for having a cupcake schedule. They had a princess cupcake schedule. And you know what they did? They can't pick who has their play in front of them. I think this just doubles down that Mike Vrabel should be coach of the year. Back-to-back 4-13 seasons, and now you're playing in a Super Bowl. They had a lot of the same players, but the coach comes in and brings that player mentality, and you can see that the guys love to play for him. Like a D'Amico Ryan, you see a lot of these ex-NFL players becoming coaches, and they really get a way to rally around. Because a lot of guys that do X's and O's, but if a coach tells you to run through and tackle somebody, and they've never tackled somebody in their life, it's different when Mike Vrabel can show him taking off someone's helmet. So great season to the Broncos, and unfortunately, I don't know. The Niner fans here are not rooting for Seattle, but I damn sure don't want the Seahawks or the Patriots to win. I've seen enough of those in my day, so if we can get away from that as far as possible, I'm all in.
Yeah. So Jerry, what was your takeaways from the Patriots beating the Broncos 10-7?
Yeah, they obviously, when you've got a backup quarterback who's never played, he needed to play a perfect game, or really just not as much a perfect game as one of which you just don't make any mistakes. His mistakes were huge, right? And so a part of that, I don't know what that pass and the interception, two of the bigger mistakes he made were just somebody who's hasn't played and just made, like, you want to call him rookie mistakes, but he's obviously was not a rookie. But I think if Bo Nix was there, that would have been a good game regardless of the weather, because they're able. He's able to maintain that team. They've had that confidence of coming back, and I just think that without Bo Nix, that they really weren't going to win this game at all from the beginning, and it was a matter of the fact that they hung in there and the weather that kind of kept them that way. As for the Patriots, you're right. I mean, a soft schedule normally comes back to haunt you down the road, especially in championship games, and they got one coming up, and so we'll see how that works out. I'll give you my prediction later to that one.
Sounds good, and that was a great tease right there. And so we see the comment on the bottom of the screen from Instagram as Sal said, "Get your points, Sean Payton," because that was an interesting call there in the first half, where I believe the Broncos had 4th and 1, and they're in the red zone, and Sean Payton decides to go for it, and you have Jarrett Stidham get absolutely leveled rather than taking the points going up 10-0 at that point. They end up losing the game 10-7. And so obviously those 3 points ended up mattering in the end. And so, Kaz, now I'm going to toss it over to you, because last week when you and I were closing out the show, you decided to be a devil's advocate. I gave you your credit because you made the bold prediction of taking the Broncos to win that game, and they came extremely close. So what was your reaction to the Patriots beating the Broncos 10-7, Kaz?
Not sure if you saw my TikTok. Well, actually, no, you didn't see my TikTok because for some reason when I posted it nobody can see it besides me. I don't know what's going on. TikTok is tripping.
Oh, you put it on private.
No, it's not. I've been
Oh.
troubleshooting it for about I did like 3 hours. I can't figure out what's going on. I uploaded it twice. It's the same thing. Either way, it doesn't matter. You saw it on Instagram. I put it on my YouTube as well. First off, I said in my prediction, I said the Patriots should win this game. I'm like, they should probably handle them. You got Jarrett Stidham at quarterback, and this could either be a really solid game or a train wreck of a game. And we're not really talking about Jarrett Stidham actually playing well. I've heard you and I've heard Kevin's uncle, mention how he made mistakes, but it's like that game could have went way downhill, far worse than what it was. You have a backup quarterback. He should have been making multiple mistakes, a lot of mistakes, multiple interceptions, probably fumbles, missing throws. He actually performed at the same level as Drake May. The only thing Drake May did was he ran for that first down at the very end. He barely threw for 100 yards. I don't think he even threw for 100 yards. What he threw for like 87 or something?
I was at 89.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like he played terrible because if he played terrible, then Drake may play terrible. And I wouldn't say that. The weather definitely factored in. But I'm very proud of myself for, and we'll talk about later on, for the Seattle Seahawks game and the LA Rams game. But I pretty much predicted both those games to a T. I was spot on. I just picked the wrong winner. That's it. So the games went exactly how I thought they were going to go. I said Jarrett Stidham can definitely go in there and play solid football and put them in position to win this game. But at the end of the day, it came down to the wire. It wasn't like the game was over in the fourth quarter. The game came down to the very last play of the game. In both games, it's just the winner was decided by those very last plays. So when it comes from a prediction standpoint, I'm like, you called the game 99.9% accurate. It just came down to a final play. And Jarrett Stidham couldn't get the job done. Now, I see Toddy shaking his head, because, of course, he's more so like, well, but your team didn't win that you predicted. But what I said in my prediction when I did my take, I said that Bo Nix all season long, he has had multiple games where he has thrown for either 0 touchdowns or 1 touchdown. He had a 5-week stint where he kind of went off. But outside of that, the Broncos have been winning out despite him not playing tremendous football. And he only threw for 3,900 yards. So Jarrett Stidham, all he had to do was go in there and not turn the ball over. And what was the deciding factor of that game? Exactly as I said, a turnover. Take that turnover away, that's probably a different result. You take away Sean Payton going forward on that 4th down, it's probably a different result. That was anybody's game until the last minute. Point blank, period. So for myself prediction wise, I was just glad to call the game as accurate as I did because I could look like a straight bozo if the Patriots came out there and just rolled them by 40. Which they probably could have on any other day. So good game. I really wish that I was correct on the overall pick, but I don't think that Jarrett Stidham, played as bad as everybody's making it seem. I really don't. Because if he played bad again, then we got to talk about Drake May playing horrible as well. And I don't think that either played bad. The weather factored in. The defenses played outstanding. The offenses, I mean, they worked with what they had, and that's that. I'm actually more disappointed in Drake May than I actually am in Jarrett Stidham. So good game. I think the better team did win. The team that deserves to be in the Super Bowl is there, and that is the New England Patriots. I just wanted to be the guy to take the bold take, and I did, and I'm glad I didn't look like a complete idiot when I made my prediction.
Yeah, I give credit to you for going out on a limb and taking the Broncos led by Jarrett Stidham because, as Jerry said, if you have Bo Nix in that game, it's a lot different. And I don't know if the Broncos end up winning it because the Patriots are a great team with a great defense, but the game might have been a higher scoring game because then the Patriots would have really had to rev it up if Bo Nix is out there, especially the fact that Bo Nix throughout the season, he kind of became the comeback kid where he wouldn't be playing well for 3 quarters and then he would just become a different player in the 4th quarter. Right. So that was really interesting. And so, Toddy, did you want to jump in here and give us your thoughts on the Patriots beating the Broncos 10-7?
Yeah, before you say that, Toddy, I want to know why you shaking your head, though, first. What were you shaking your head about? Go with that first.
Kaz is the same guy that said the Eagles were the better team in the 49ers and Eagles game. And
all roads
why are we going back to that now?
All roads
back
to the Eagles.
Hey, well, I'm spot on my prediction. I just didn't pick the right people to win. Ain't that what predictions is for? You're supposed to pick the right winner.
Sounds
But
pretty
anyways,
similar to that game.
Uncle JB here on the show, I like to look at it from a gambling perspective because there's a certain someone on this podcast that likes to gamble. The line on this game when it opened started at 5.5, which was a little bit more than a little bit less what I thought it would be, because given the fact that Bo Nix had broken his ankle and Sean Payton came out and announced that, I thought it would have been like a double-digit spread, to be honest. But if you look throughout the week, the line continues to drop. It dropped to like 4.5. It dropped, and then it closed at 3.5 points. So like a 2-point jump from Sunday to Sunday, basically. Basically, Vegas knows something that we don't. Apparently, it could have been something about the weather because over the weekend and still going on to this day, there's been like a big old blizzard storm from like the East Coast on towards Colorado. I know in New England, if this game would have been played in New England, it probably might have gotten canceled just because of how severe that it looked and was over the weekend in New England, in that particular area of the United States. But the weather and Bo Nix not playing definitely factored into that point spread being a little bit started to come down a little bit. I think the weather had a lot to do with it, though. But as far as the game goes, Jared Stidham came out, didn't really. He was obviously uneasy because he hadn't played a snap literally the whole entire year up until the AFC Championship game. So all quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks, you usually like to collect their money, kind of like insurance. Kind of hope nothing ever happens. And all of a sudden, boom, your car crashes. I need a new car. I need this, that, and the third.
Great
Similar
example.
with backup quarterbacks. You hope you never have to play, and then all of a sudden, when things just go left, you got to be ready. So, ironically, Jared Stidham was drafted by the New England Patriots, and for him to play against his old team in the AFC Championship, it was literally set up for him. I don't think really anybody expected him to like put up crazy numbers, given the fact that he wasn't really active and hasn't really played that many snaps at all, like in his entire career. So for him to come out and throw that touchdown to Mims, like on the second drive, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like no one expected him to do too much, and especially in the conditions that he was playing in, shocked me early on. And then as the game kind of progressed, you saw the inability of him being able to move the ball consistently. It was like, all right, Patriots let him get his one off, and then Vrabel kind of really started to figure it out. I thought Ramondre Stevenson was very key for them in this game. It really didn't really show in the stat box. He rushed for 71 yards for 25 carries, but they were very, very in key points of time when they needed him to put the ball on the ground. So I thought Drake May, he didn't really do too much. I thought in a couple of really key 3rd and 6s, he was able to keep the ball, keep the chains moving, and for him to, in really, really key spots in the game, he was able to use his legs to kind of keep them going. Obviously, they were able to score the touchdown and had the field goal late. Sean Payton not electing to go for the field goal there, I understand kind of why, in a sense. There's kind of been a theme in the playoffs where a lot of coaches are passing up on 3 points and trying to go for the touchdown. Now, a lot of it hasn't worked out to its advantage, but there are some spots in the playoffs, like when Ben Johnson ended up going for it on 4th down in the playoffs. Obviously, in the previous game, it worked out for him, but he also got bit by the bullet on 4th down a couple of times in the last game against the Rams, because there were a bunch of times where they could have kicked the field goal and probably have won that game had they would have taken the points. So the theme for the playoffs has been you should take the points rather than just go for it, because at the end of the day, you're kind of taking points off the board. So there are times to be conservative and there are times to be aggressive. I thought in that particular point, points were coming out of premium. So in those conditions, you probably should take the 3 points, but I understand why Sean Payton wanted to go for the gusto, because it's the AFC Championship. It's now or never. You have your backup quarterback. What do you have to lose? So can't really fault him too much. I mean, who would have predicted that Bo Nix would break his ankle literally on the second to last play of the game? And now he has to play with a backup quarterback in the AFC Championship game. So hats off to him. I think if Bo Nix was healthy, Broncos probably would have won this game. There were a lot of opportunities for the Broncos to push the ball down the field. You see plays throughout the season that Bo Nix has made routinely. Stidham obviously wasn't able to do. There was someone on this podcast that did have the Broncos as the number 1 team in the NFL, but didn't predict that they would have their quarterback.
Wonder who that was.
At the end of the season. I do also want to give a shout out to brother Keith. We did a factor cap on the show that said it was factor cap. Are the Patriots and the Broncos going to play each other in the AFC Championship game? He was spot on. So hats off to Keith. I don't know if he predicted Mike McCarthy to the Steelers, but he predicted that game. So.
Yeah, I gotta check in with Keith. I'm not sure how he's feeling about the Yinzer going back to Pittsburgh to become their new head coach. And I actually saw something that Matthew Berry, NBC's fantasy expert, posted today where he's just comparing the resumes of a John Harbaugh and a Mike McCarthy, and it's actually like extremely similar. But everyone's really high on John Harbaugh becoming the head coach of the Giants, but not so high on Mike McCarthy getting the job in Pittsburgh. So that's really interesting. And we'll get to all the coaching hires when it ends up being finalized with all the positions being filled rather than going one by one every single week, as Robert Saleh was starting to finalize the deal with the Titans when we were recording last week. And so it's all happening quickly, and we'll get to that likely once the Super Bowl concludes. But Kevin, you wanted to jump back in?
So before we move on to the next game, I wanted to do a little pop quiz. So there have been 6 quarterbacks in NFL history to make it to the Super Bowl in year 2. Can you guys name those 6 quarterbacks?
Ben Roethlisberger.
He is one of them.
Russell Wilson.
He is one of
them. Drake May is now one of them.
Yes.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow is one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Cass.
Because that's 4.
Need 2 more.
Yeah, give me some credit, Vaughn. Always hating on a brother, man. Always hating.
Jared, you got
Who
one?
we got? You said who?
What was the question? I couldn't hear it.
So there's been 6 quarterbacks to make it to the Super Bowl in their sophomore year.
I still can't hear it.
NFL quarterbacks to make to the Super Bowl in their second year in the NFL.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear everybody but Kevin.
All right, well, someone else can answer
The question was, who are the 6 quarterbacks to make it to the Super Bowl in their second year?
He probably has me muted.
Second year.
So we got Drake May, we got Russell Wilson, and we got Ben Roethlisberger and Joe Burrow. So there's 2 more or 3 more guys.
And we're talking about this day and age, or we're going all the way back?
All time.
NFL history.
Because I think Marino was a second-year guy.
Dan Marino's one of them. So
okay.
There you go.
I think Marino might have been.
There are 2 more guys, which I'm surprised weren't named first.
So we have 5 now?
Tom Brady?
We already named Tom Brady.
Oh, do we? Oh.
So we have them all.
No, we have 2 more.
Brady.
I thought
Wilson, Burrow,
we said Drake May,
Marino,
Russell Wilson,
Drake
Tom
May.
Brady, Kurt Warner, Dan Marino, Ben Roethlisberger, and Joe Burrow. There's 2 more quarterbacks.
And they're obvious based on
Patrick
Mahomes.
Nope.
No. Whoa. What?
I thought we said them all.
Second year.
they're obvious.
Completely obvious.
To me, Russell Wilson was obvious. Tom
Aaron
Brady's
Rodgers?
obvious.
Aaron Rodgers.
No, he's backup for.
If you guys
4
are
or
ready to
5
give up,
years,
let me
I think.
know.
I'm just trying
Oh
to
my
say
God, it's obvious.
Completely obvious. Completely obvious.
Jalen Hurts?
Not that obvious.
Brock Purdy.
Yes, finally.
I thought we said that all.
Yeah.
No one said Brock Purdy. We have 1 more name.
Brock Purdy.
Is this completely obvious too?
I thought you meant
It should
being in the Super Bowl, being competitive and winning.
we always love a good Niner shot. So we got 1 more name.
Hey. So we got another obvious one. Colin Kaepernick?
Yes, sir.
Dang, I was about to say.
I say, how long to 2 Niner guys didn't even know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Once Kevin was saying it was obvious, I was like, it's got to be Niner quarterbacks. Garoppolo went through my head, and I'm like, hell no. And yeah, Purdy crossed my mind because Purdy, Toddy, we forget. We always talk about that NFC Championship game when Purdy got knocked out with the arm injury. But like he was a rookie that year, then came back the next year and made it to the Super Bowl. And then Colin Kaepernick, he I think did Kaepernick sit? I think he sat his rookie year, and then he came back in, or then he came in for the first time in.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, in place of Alex Smith when I think Alex Smith had a concussion. Kaepernick plays that Monday Night Football game against the Bears, then he never looks back. Exactly.
Did any of those second-year quarterbacks win Super Bowl?
Tom Brady won. Russell Wilson won. Kurt Warner won. Joe Burrow lost. Brock Purdy lost. Colin Kaepernick lost. Did Dan Marino win?
Marino lost. Burrow
no, he
lost.
lost.
Kaepernick
Marino
lost.
never got a ring.
Did Ben win this one? Because Ben's been to 2. Did he win his second one? Or did he win his first one?
Santonio,
he won the one against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, with the catch, right? The toe touch.
Ben
beat Seattle. I don't know if it was
Seattle.
Yeah, Ben beat Seattle in 2006. That was Jerome Bettis' last year.
Okay, so yes, it was his first. Yeah, he won his first one. So he was the only one on this list, in addition to Tom Brady and Kurt Warner and Russell Wilson that won. So Drake Mays is some good competition.
Yeah, it'll be real interesting. And after the NFC Championship game on Sunday night, there was a reporter who asked Sam Darnold. They stated to Sam Darnold, "Hey, you're the first quarterback from the 2018 class to be starting in a Super Bowl." And he said, "Yeah, well, I've been to the Super Bowl before on the 49ers when he was a backup for Brock Purdy." And so now Sam is returning to the Super Bowl as the Seahawks beat the Rams 31-27 in what was a great game. We got a defensive battle in the first game, and then we ended up getting a bit of an offensive shootout in the second game as Seahawks prevail over the Rams 31-27. For Toddy and I mean, I'm not going to speak for Toddy, but for me, it was a game there I was just like, I don't care who wins. As a 49ers fan, I want both these teams to lose. That's impossible, so it is what it is. It's tough, too, because, like, I really like Sam Darnold. I appreciate how he really looks at his 1-year vacation in San Francisco with such reverence. But then the fact that he plays for the Seattle Seahawks, the team that I hate more than any other sports franchise ever, it's tough for me. So I can't believe I'm saying it, but go Patriots. Anyways, Seahawks beat the Rams 31-27. Jerry, what was your reaction to this NFC West championship game?
Well, it's really what I thought was going to happen. I mean, when you look at Seattle, they seem to be pretty well rounded, both offensively and defensively. And Darnold, right? I mean, who gives up a quarterback that goes 14-2, and then he shows up again that goes 14-2 on another team? Between him, which by the way, he's probably going to be he's in the running. Let's say he's in the running for the MVP, right? But I kind of thought that the Seahawks have a better overall. I mean, with what's the guy's name? Smith. How do you say his last name? Yeah, I mean, he was just unreal in the first half, and I was thinking, okay, they can't slow him down, but they have weapons. I mean, they've got tight ends, they've got wideouts, they've got Cooper Kupp's running out there now, right? And then and they're missing their top running back, but they've got their which I thought was one of the better nicknames in the league too, is the Kenneth Walker. I get to call him K9 because his number's 9, right? And I think from a team standpoint, and defensively they get after it. And so, I thought it was a game. I thought that's how it was going to end. I didn't know if the Rams had as much as offensive power as the Seahawks did, and I also think that the Seahawks got a better coach from a coaching standpoint. I think McVay. He's won one, and he's led the program a little bit, but he's just like some of these other coaches who are taking these fourth down chances and they're rolling the dice. And I'm an old school guy when it comes to that. You don't give up points. You don't leave points on the board. You're sitting out there at the 40-yard line. I mean, that's the last place you wanted to give somebody a good offense possession, because now they have a shorter field to get to. And to me, you just back them up, make them go 80 yards, make them go 90 yards. If you punt from the 40, you put them down, get it inside the 10, it makes a different, game strategically. So, No, I just thought Seahawks look good. I think I think they're going to probably take the whole thing. To be honest with you, so I know you're not going to be happy with that, but they were impressive to me.
Yeah, after the Seahawks absolutely destroyed Toddy and I's Niners, all I could really say, and I said this to a couple of my friends who are Seahawks fans, is the Seahawks are elite. They're going to go win it all. And while I may not like it, I'm enough of a sports fan to see the reality for what it
Yeah,
is. And before we get the takes from the rest of the guys on the panel, I did want to follow up with one thing that you said, Jerry, and get your thoughts on it. Because regarding Sam Darnold's 1 year with the Minnesota Vikings, he had a
yeah,
tremendous regular season, but then the season finale wasn't great as they had a chance to win the NFC North. I think they had the first round bye and the number 1 seed was on the line. They didn't perform well against the Lions. And then they go to the playoffs and they lose 27-9 against the Rams in a game. And that game wasn't even in LA. It was in Arizona, played on a neutral field because of the wildfires. And Sam Darnold, he just had back-to-back bad games after such a tremendous season. And so how much stock do you put into those last 2 games? Because recency bias gets the best of all of us sometimes. And so everyone could only remember going into the offseason the back-to-back bad games that Sam had. But there was a huge sample size that preceded it. And so for you as an NFL veteran, how much stock do you put into those 2 games that quote unquote matter the most compared to what he did the rest of the year?
yeah. That's kind of a good point because it's how did he perform when all the marbles were on the table, right? I mean, how did he come through in the playoffs when they needed him the most? And I think and I heard this about Sam Darnold, which was kind of interesting because when they started breaking down how he was as a quarterback, strong arm, this and that, so on and so forth. The one thing I heard was that he has the ability to forget his bad plays and forget his bad games and bounce back from those. And that's what you've seen, especially it was a two, maybe it was the 49er game. I think he had a couple of bad plays, but from a mental standpoint, he came back and kind of led his team. Darnold's I like him. I don't know why he bounced around like he does. And I think it's probably because, what happened there in Minnesota at the end. They said we could lose with JJ McCarthy. So we don't, but when you get a guy that's got it rolling, like he's got it going up down in Seattle, and you get a defense behind it, you get a running game behind it, you look at him and say, look, just go out there and sling it. Don't make mistakes. And then next thing you know, you're the number one offense in the NFL. So, I look at them. I saw those things last year too, but I'll keep him. I'll take him anytime, and you can see how he's playing now. Just a little bit of confidence, the right coaching, the right team behind it. It's steamroll. He's steamrolling.
Definitely. So, Javon, you and I may not like it, but the Seahawks are back in the Super Bowl, and they're getting a chance at revenge for some Seahawks fans who remember the game 11 years ago. And so now they're facing the Patriots. It's 2 completely different teams, obviously. But what was your reaction to the Seahawks beating the Rams in this matchup of NFC West teams, Javon?
Also, want to touch on what Uncle JB was talking about his stint in Minnesota. I think it was tough for Minnesota because of the financial and draft compensation that they already committed to JJ McCarthy. Him being drafted, I think it was 11th, 10th or 11th. So they felt like they had to play him at some point in time, and also having Sam Darnold being that bridge type of quarterback and kind of get him on a more team friendly deal. Kind of Sam was asking for a little bit more than what Minnesota wanted to do, and for them to already have drafted JJ McCarthy were kind of saying they had to play him at some point in time. And for him to get hurt kind of just made it easier for Sam to just go out and just ball. Um, and now Sam's obviously in Seattle, and Minnesota misses the playoffs. As far as the game goes, I thought Sam Darnold played phenomenal. He connected on a bunch of passes. Like everybody was pretty much scoring, from guys like Kenneth Walker to Jake Bobo, who me and Kevin always talk every day. He said he only caught 2 passes all year, and then he just somehow catches the passes in the NFC Championship game. And Jackson Smith-Jigba is probably the best receiver in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, like 1,800 yards this year. I think he had double-digit touchdowns. I'm not sure. too sure on the touchdowns, but I mean, if you just anybody with eyes can see that this guy is one of the best receivers in the league, and he really hasn't been talked like, oh, he's one of those guys. Like he's not. People still say he's not Jamar, he's not Jettas, and I mean, I'm just from a number standpoint, from watching the games. I mean, he's torching any and everybody. Doesn't matter who's guarding him. He's seeing double coverage. It's what he's been doing this whole entire season. I wasn't really too keen to him. I don't know if a lot of us were. We knew like what his capability was, but he was kind of overshadowed by guys like Tyler Lockett and by DK Metcalf. And when he finally got his chance, he took it and ran with it. Kenneth Walker is a monster, obviously. I just thought the Rams had a lot of chances, as Uncle JB was saying earlier. A couple of fourth downs that they weren't able to get, and they were going for it pretty much like towards the middle of the field, so like 50-yard line, 40-yard line, giving Seattle a short field to kind of play with. Seattle had, or the Rams had the muff punt, which didn't really help them at all because they were automatically in like the red zone when they fumbled, and they cashed in, scored a touchdown, kind of putting them up by 2 possessions, and the Rams were kind of just playing catch up the majority of the game. Matt Stafford was pretty much flawless in this game. Puka Nacua, another guy who's probably a top 5 receiver. Like he's just been on whenever possible. Kaz kind of scrunches his face when I say Puka Nacua, top 5 receiver. I don't think that we can look at the numbers. I think just when it comes down to it, they were just a little bit. The Seahawks had just a little bit more. I think these teams are pretty much evenly matched. I think what puts Seattle over, their defense is really, really physical. I'm not going to say that they're Legion of Boom physical, but they have that type of physicality that I have been seeing. I mean, Amoria, I don't know how to say his last name. You guys could probably
the
rookie
I know
corner.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The rookie corner, dog. Devin Witherspoon, monster. And they've consistently hit on their defensive draft picks year in and year out. I think with a lot of GMs, you're kind of hoping and wishing that you're going to hit on these types of picks. But when GMs consistently hit on their draft picks, we see Howie Roseman, who's done it for the past couple of years. When you consistently hit on your draft picks, you don't have to pay those guys right away. So you can get away with paying a star wide receiver or a star running back. And those guys on the defensive side of the ball, if they're able to go out and play at a high, like a Pro Bowl caliber level for pennies on the dollar, this is how you get these types of teams. So hats off to the Seattle organization. We saw in Sean McVay's press conference, they asked him if Stafford would be back next year. Obviously, he's going to be 38, I think, in like 2 weeks. And he kind of got mad and said, what kind of question is that? It's a fair question. I mean, he is about to be almost 40, but he played at MVP caliber level, so I could see why his frustration led to that particular answer. But I probably would expect Stafford to be back next year. Even like before the season, when people were saying that he wasn't going to be to the best of his abilities because he wasn't practicing in training camp, obviously because of his back, the guy goes out and plays the entire season, like no problem. So I think for players like him, you have to give him that type of leeway because obviously he's an older player. And usually older players don't really practice as much summertime up in training camp. And just got to make sure when week 1 comes around that he's ready to roll. So Seahawks win. Darnold played out of his mind. I think he threw for 300 plus, 3 touchdowns. And yeah, Seattle they're probably a touchdown favorite right now, which is insane to say in the Super Bowl game, but I think there have been bigger spreads, honestly. Couple of years. I think one of those 49ers Super Bowls, I'm pretty sure they were like a 2 touchdown favorite. So for this game to be like a touchdown spread, I think it's going to be a pretty tight game.
I would agree. I think it's going to be a great game. And so, Kaz, now tossing it over to you. We've talked a lot about Sam Darnold, but we haven't really talked about who he replaced, and that's Geno Smith. When that move happened, a lot of people were saying, Sam Darnold's going to get paid more. I'd rather have Geno right now. I've seen some cold takes on Twitter where people are finding tweets from a year ago and they're like, oh, would you really rather still have Geno Smith? Geno Smith goes from being on the Seahawks, and I believe that they barely missed the playoffs last year, to now this year, Geno Smith is on the Raiders. They get the first overall pick, and Sam Darnold has led the Seahawks to at least a Super Bowl appearance. And so a lot factors in there. But Kaz, what was your reaction to the Seahawks beating the Rams 31-27?
Just want to address one thing real quick. My reaction to him saying Puka Nacua is probably a top 5 wide receiver. I made that face because how dare you? We just watched 2 of the top 3 receivers in the league. Top 5 is disrespect. Puka Nacua is top 3. That he's an animal. I have never seen anything like this.
And one thing I wanted to add to that, Kaz, is I saw a graphic today on Twitter where it was 4 players on it, and it said you have to eliminate one. It was JSN, Puka, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. And it's like, with those 4, who would you eliminate out of those 4? It's almost impossible. But please continue.
I know one right now can get the hell out of that's Jay Jettis. I'm taking the other 3 over Jay Jettis right now. That's just my opinion. But other than that, though, I'm just saying Puka Nacua. We saw 2 of the top 3 wide receivers. Maybe not overall. We'll see in a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years. But we saw 2 of the top 3 in the league just the other day. Puka Nacua is an animal, and JSN. I don't know what I saw, but that was some brilliant wide receiver play that game by so many wide receivers. Every wide receiver, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp. You know what I'm saying? You know, obviously Puka did what he did. I mean, I think JSN had 100 yards at halftime or close to it. Like
he had 115 had 7 for 115 and a touchdown.
And then Puka, like, you know, he already had like 5 receptions at halftime or close to it. So I'm like, I already knew what it was off the jump. And, you know, just give myself a little more credit before I get into my take on the game. I picked the wrong team to win, but I was spot on with what I said, what was going to happen, and it was going to be a
2
high
for 2.
scoring.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what, though? You talking about that you were 99% right. But when you pick a team and they lose, that's 50-50. So
hey, all I'll say is this: I did say that
49%.
it's gonna be fireworks. I said it's gonna be a high scoring game. There are some people out there that were saying that the Seattle's defense is gonna be too much. I don't think that neither defense was stopping these offenses. I mean, it was a show and it was really fun to watch. But I will say this: big shout out to Sam Darnold, dude balled. I can't really say, you know, we can give Stafford a lot of credit, but we know what Stafford's capable of. Obviously, Puka Nacua, the veteran Devontae Adams. It's like, you know, and Sean McVay. I mean, these 2 of those guys have been there, you know, and won the big games. So it's like, you know, like I got to give more credit to Seattle. I mean, they played lights out, man. And Darnold was about as good as you can be as a quarterback in the biggest game of his career. So watching him play that game, watching how they closed that game, I mean, it was a great football game. And I think that, you know, we talk about Kenneth Walker, and I'm not a big fan of Kenneth Walker as a fantasy football owner of him for the last couple of years. It's either hit or miss. Then there's some games where I'm like, bro, is Zach Charbonnet like just that much better than him? Like, where's Kenneth Walker at? Like, why is he? And all of a sudden, next game pops off playing like prime Adrian Peterson. I don't understand it, but that's just the way that he is. Showed up early in the game, started the ball out immediately. And anyone who knows anything about football is if you establish the run right away, and they can't stop the run, the game is in your control. And so shout out to the Seahawks for getting Kenneth Walker involved early, but you're going against the Los Angeles Rams. All it took was a couple punts, and they capitalized on those punts, and they responded really well. So just an overall fun game to watch. I can't say a negative thing about either team. I can't say a negative thing about either quarterback, either receiver, coaches, I thought it was a good game. It came down to which team made the least amount of mistakes. Sean McVay. I think that Jerry, you mentioned that, you know, he's more of a gambler, like most veteran coaches. You saw it there. You got to take the points. Take the points. If the points aren't there, you pin them back. It's playoff football, and I talked about it when the Eagles were playing the Niners before that game happened. But I was like, you know, the playoffs are a different beast. Now, even though our team didn't come out on top, Kevin, but I still stand by what I said. It's a chess match, man. It's all about, you know, who can really put their team in position to win when it matters the most. You're not going to go into a playoff game more often than not and just dominate. And we've only seen, I think, one game this throughout these playoffs. It was the Patriots versus whoever I can't remember they played. Was it who'd they crush?
No, not the Texans.
They crushed. they beat the Chargers handily, and then I forgot the Texans did also handle the Steelers. But you don't really see that in playoff games. That's not a real thing more often than not. They're usually really hard fought games, and then when it comes down to the end of the games, either a team pulls away or it comes down to a field goal, and that's it. So the fact that this game went the way that it went, I just enjoyed it. It was fun football, and something that I haven't seen a lot this season. I think that we all can agree, statistically and just from a viewer standpoint, it wasn't a big offensive year for football. There wasn't a lot of 40, 50-point games like we've seen in previous years. Hell, I don't think there's even too many 30-point games. A lot of poor performances on offenses all season long. Even from the rushing leaders to the to the passing leaders, to the top rushers. You got your number one guys, and everyone else just falls off tremendously. So not a lot of offense this season. To see that game was exciting as a fan. So it was fun to watch. I'm not sure if you really care about the prediction right now, but I don't think that anybody's stopping the Seahawks team. They're too well rounded. The Patriots are well rounded as well, but I think that Seattle's just that defense is too much. They're ready to go, and I'm not sure if you guys really watched that defense in between plays during the AFC or NFC Championship game. But I mean, dude, they're ready. They're hungry, and I don't think that the Patriots are ready for that defense. So we'll see.
Jerry, did you want to jump in real quickly before we heard from Kevin?
Well, no, you're talking about Seattle defense, right? And I heard somebody say that they asked me to name 2 or 3 players from their defense, and I was like, maybe the guy that got the personal foul penalty, number 27. But they're not well known, but they play well enough together, and that's the key. So that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, and also I think about a guy like Leonard Williams, who kind of had his career dwindling in New Jersey, and then he ends up finding his way to Seattle, and now he is headed to the Super Bowl. Even a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, who spent 11 seasons in Dallas, and he was basically just stuck in purgatory. I saw a graphic today. I didn't download it to put it on the screen right now, but I saw a graphic today that basically said a timeline of when NFC teams have last played for a conference championship. And you had Dallas way over here outside of the screen in 1996. And then the next closest was, I believe, 2010, when you had whoever was in 2010. Oh, the Bears. The Chicago Bears were in 2010. And then 2011, you had the New York Giants. And then there was the rest in the 2010s to the 2020s. So DeMarcus Lawrence, 11 years in Dallas, can't get to the Super Bowl or even sniff a conference championship. And now first year in Seattle, and he's going to the bowl. So, Kevin, what was your reaction to the Seahawks beating the Rams?
Sean, I did want to say this real quick, too, just to kind of go back what Toddy said about how this Seattle defense, like, they're obviously not the Legion of Boom. That's obviously a way different defense, but it's more so about their demeanor. When they're out there, you're seeing it, they're chirping, they're in people's faces. They're it's like as an Eagles fan, like, Kevin, you can like vouch for me there. When our defense is clicking, it looks like they're having fun out there. It's like when you watch the Seattle's defense, like, it looks like they're having fun out there, and they're being very, very active. Like, they're not really quiet. They're not silent. And like, you see that you don't really need to have a lot of big name players, on that defense. I mean, I think Jerry said it best. Like, these guys just they play for each other, obviously. And I think that's a big deal. I mean, you got 11 guys in that defense. You go out there, you don't need, a Ray Lewis or an Ed Reed or anything like that. You got 11 guys that all have each other's back. I mean, you're kind of seeing it happen there in Seattle. So I just wanted to kind of double back on that and kind of just speak on that again. So,
yeah, thank you for adding that, because I look at a guy like Tariq Woolen, and he just gives me Richard Sherman vibes from those early 2010 Seattle Seahawks teams, specifically when it comes to the chirping and how much he's talking. And I did see right after the game, he came right up to Sean McVay and shook his hand, and kind of a la Richard Sherman too, when I believe Richard Sherman stuck the hand out to Crabtree, and Crabtree slapped the hand away in very poor sportsmanship fashion. But Kevin, if you could close us out for this segment with your thoughts on the Seahawks beating the Rams.
Definitely. So I watched this game with a bunch of Alyssa's friends. So they're all Seahawk fans. They're like, Kevin, who are you going for? And I was like, I don't think you really want to ask me, because it's the opposite of all of you guys. Why, Kevin? Why? And I was like, you guys see that guy for the blue team, number 17, Devontae Adams. Before yesterday, he was 0-4 in NFC Championship games. We have seen him put his life on the line. The Netflix quarterback show, he said, I got to get out of here. This guy's going to get me killed. Like Devontae Adams, when it's all said and done, is going to be a Hall of Famer. Is going to be a guy that current wide receivers say they studied. Devontae Adams, he is the first player in NFL history to lead the NFL in touchdowns with 3 different teams. I wanted this so bad for Devontae Adams, and the Rams lost this game the same way they lost the other 6. Special teams. We all remember when Jordan Davis blocked the field goal. We all remember the muff punts. Like, they have lost countless games because of special teams. They fired their coach week 5. Their special teams coach week 5. They said, we've got enough. Like, this is week 5. We should not have this many mishaps. And it just goes to show, you can have the Matthew Stafford, you can have the Puka Nakuas, but all 3 phases have to show up to win a game. You can't have your offensive defense show up and special teams not show up, because if they don't muff that punt, they don't go down 11, it's still a 3-point game, and who knows what happens. That was a game that was electrifying. After that muff punt, they scored the very next play, just like Toddy mentioned. So it's something to say about the Rams. I know we've been saying a lot about the Seahawks. It's going to be interesting to kind of see what this Rams team looks like next year. But Sean McVay is going to be back, and we're going to see they have 2 first-round picks coming up. So do they get a quarterback? Do they get a plan B? So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there from a Seahawks standpoint. There have been 5 quarterbacks. Now Sam Darnold joins an elite list of 5 quarterbacks that have a complete quarterback QBR on third down and on red zones on 95 and above, and that's out of 100. These 5 guys, now including Sam Darnold, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, the one and only Jalen Hurts, and Sam Darnold. Hey, Todd, you can smack your lips all you want. That's an elite list. Brock Purdy ain't on no list with Tom Brady. I'm just saying. I just have to come out there and know. Joe Douglas, the day they let go of Sam Darnold, they asked him in an interview,
he's unemployed.
Did you make? You said what?
I said
he's now unemployed. Yeah, he's now unemployed. They asked him, did you make the wrong pick? He said, Sam Darnold is going to be a hell of a football player. And it's not that I was wrong. We had the wrong infrastructure around him, and this guy's going to be a star in the league. So we talk about guys like with the Raiders having the number 1 pick. Do you really want to bring a quarterback into that situation when everything around you is shit? So it's going to be interesting. But another thing that I wanted to say is, as an Eagles fan, there is nothing better that I got to see on Sunday than to know that Toddy and Shaun have to see an NFC West opponent go to a Super Bowl in their arena. You guys talk about we got 5 all time. If the Seahawks win, you've seen 3 of your NFC rival opponents win before you got to see 1. So it's all good and dandy to say we got 5, but you ain't seen your team win 1. And if the Seahawks don't pass on 4th and inches, it's 4. So it makes me feel good as a fan of the Eagles to see that not only is it your rival, they're going to be getting dressed in your locker. They're going to say, let me wipe the dust off. Oh, that says Fred Warner? Oh, let's take that shit off. So they're going to go into your arena, and, we'll talk about our previews later. We talked about how he was one of the first quarterbacks in 2018. You got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. And that's funny how people will talk about Josh Rosen being a part of that draft. Like, he didn't get replaced the very next season. But he was also in that quarterback draft class. And Toddy sent in a video, TikTok, saying that now people are going to say Sam Darnold's better than Josh Allen. And I said, make sure you don't forget, he's also better than Lamar Jackson now, too. But that's neither here nor there. But overall thoughts, JSN is, I think it's a 1A, 1B. I think we're going to have the same conversations we did with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson with Puka and JSN, because they both get all the targets. So it's really going to be hard to say who you guys, maybe it's not for you guys, but for me, it's really a 1A, 1B. It's just so hard in this day of age. We have so many young receivers coming in to say he's the best, because last year, Kaz, this is going to hurt. We were saying AJ Brown was top 3. This summer, when we do receiver rankings, it might have a 1 in front of that 3. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so crazy to see how fast 17 games go by, and it changes your whole opinion on
Lots of that fast.
I mean, life comes at you fast.
Just gonna forget about Kevin Petula, but all right then, brother.
We talked about Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors being the next guys, and Brian Thomas fell off a cliff. You know, there's so many young guys coming into the league. It's really hard. And then you see situations like Justin Jefferson when he has the five of us throwing him the football. So it's really hard. But moral of the story, the Seahawks go on to beat the Rams. I really wanted this for Devontae Adams. Like I said, being 0-5. So it's going to be sad to see him go, and maybe that was his last go-round. I predict if Matt Stafford retires, I think he leaves. Retires as well, ends on a high note. But it's going to be interesting. You know, we got 2 weeks, so we got a lot of football to discuss until then.
We sure do, and I was rooting for Devontae as well because he's from Palo Alto, went to Fresno State, and as you mentioned, Kevin, he just has not had any success when it comes to conference championship games, and he was well aware of that going into the game because I'm not sure how many of you saw his press conference leading into the game itself, but he was basically saying, forgive me for not really seeming too happy about being here or getting here, but I've been here 4 times before. It hasn't worked out for me. So I'll celebrate later when we win this game. But right now, I'm not satisfied. And kind of going back to what Kobe would say, and rest in peace to Kobe, Gianna, and the 7 others who perished on this day 6 years ago. But, you know, never satisfied is Devontae Adams, and it's understandable why, given his track record. And now it just gets even further for him, which is really unfortunate. So now we are going to do a brief preview of Super Bowl 60 coming up, because next week, Kevin, Jaevon, and I will be joined by a Patriots fan and a Seahawks fan to get perspective on their respective teams going into the game. And so I wanted to hear from Jerry. I wanted to hear from Kaz on their predictions for the upcoming Super Bowl. And I'll just set the scene real quickly. We know it's Patriots and Seahawks in a rematch of Super Bowl 49, but something some people may have overlooked is that Sam Darnold and Drake May, they both are former number 3 overall picks. Both teams have head coaches named Mike with defensive backgrounds, and neither team made the playoffs last season. So now here they are moving on to the Super Bowl after missing the entire postseason last year. So, Jerry, I'm going to toss it to you first. What is your prediction for Super Bowl 60? Who do you got winning the game, and who do you got winning Super Bowl MVP, and why?
I'm going to stick with the Seahawks. I think that they have the momentum, they have the better offense, and just as good of a defense as the Patriots. I also think that the MVP will be Darnold, obviously, because he's going to be distributing the ball, and I think and one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot too is the coaching, right? I really, really think the better coaches in Seattle. And as much as I like Vrabel, that he's a good coach, I think from a standpoint of when you get into tight games like this, and it's going to entail making the right decisions, B, the right game plans. The one thing Belichick was great at, you go in at halftime, he came out, it was a different team. You know, he was able to make those adjustments. I kind of think Seattle's got the edge there, and I think with as just as good as talent as both teams have, the coaching is going to make a big deal, and I think those decisions you'll see them. Hopefully, it's not something that'll cause the game by a bad decision by one coach or another, but I do think that has a lot to do with it. And so I'm going with Seattle, and I'm going with Darnold for the MVP.
All right, Kaz, are you going to make it 2 for 2 on the panel so far leading into next week and going with Seattle as well? Where does your head lie on this upcoming game, Kaz?
Yeah, not to kind of sound like a mockingbird, but I mean, I agree. I think that they do have the momentum. I think they have, like I mentioned earlier, the more well-rounded team. No discredit to the Patriots. These are 2 very well-rounded teams. These are 2 teams that have phenomenal coaches. But I think I've seen enough this past weekend with Seattle. I don't just eye test wise. I'm a big eye test guy. You guys know, as a former athlete, like I like to see what players are doing, and how they're responding to adversity. I'm like, that Seattle team just seems like there's nothing going to stop them. And even when they have to face adversity, they're gonna find a way to persevere afterwards. So I think that Seattle takes it, and it's kind of hard to not give the MVP to the quarterback. They win it more often than not. So unless something happens on that defensive side, and Sam Darnold has one of the worst games of his life, and they still end up winning, I'm going to go with Sam Darnold to get the MVP and Seattle to win. I do think that this is going to be a very exciting Super Bowl. I think it's going to be very equivalent to what we just saw with the Rams and Seahawks NFC Championship game. But it just appears. When you watch the football games, I know that the AFC Championship game, because of the weather conditions, as much as I hate to use that as an excuse, wasn't as exciting. I don't foresee it being a defensive dominant game, and if it is, it's going to be dominant on Seattle's end and not the Patriots end. So it could be really bad for New England, but I'm gonna give them some credit, and I think they're gonna put up a good fight. I think Drake May throws for 300 plus yards, probably 2 or 3 touchdowns, but altogether, Seattle they're too solid. They're too solid of a team, and they're hungry. They're ready to do it, man. So they get their lick back. They should be 2-0 against the Patriots in the past 15 years, but instead, you're gonna be 1-1.
99%.
Well, or
Toddy,
49%.
You better pick the Patriots, Toddy. I ain't trying to hear this shit, man. You better pick the Patriots.
Well, Kaz, I got a hard-hitting question for you before we get out of here, and I want to get some final thoughts from Jerry. But Kaz, the hard-hitting question that I have for you with my journalism degree is, in 2 weeks when we see you after that Super Bowl, are you going to have a different Zoom background, or are you rocking with Jalen Hurts forever?
That'd be different. It might be. So we might have to just
another Jalen Hurts photo.
We might have to just keep it basic. See the message. I was doing some cleaning, so we might have to just keep it basic like this. I don't know, but for right now, y'all,
it's back on.
We still the champs. Until next Sunday.
We're gonna have to just 2 more weeks. It's ours. Okay, look at that, Toddy.
The Guitar Hero guitar.
Take a look. Got it right here on me on deck. Play every day, baby. It's on deck.
Love it.
Man, if we ever head out to the Midwest or Kaz comes out to California, I would love to see Jaevon and Kaz go one-on-one in Guitar Hero. Well, just Kaz, for context, I remember seeing Jaevon at a movie theater, just absolutely like shredding the guitar playing Guitar Hero.
I got footage.
So he's not an amateur. I think it'd be a good battle.
I play live.
All right. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe you guys can play online and we can see what the final score is. But before we get out of here, I just wanted to thank Jerry again for joining us. We really appreciate you. And do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share, Jerry?
No, not really. I think that at least you don't have to worry about weather in the Super Bowl, right? And it's going to be a big hype, and I guess we're all looking forward to the halftime show because we've got that foreign performer, the guy who's not an American citizen but performing, or so they say, right? With the Bad Bunny thing.
Yeah,
but there's always the the halftime shows. There's always the commercials. So it's going to be a good week. It's going to be a good game, and I think the team, the better team's going to win. So.
I agree. Kevin, Jaevon, any closing thoughts before we get up out of here?
Thanks for joining us, Unc. I know it's late out there in Florida. We definitely appreciate the feedback, and we definitely got to have you on again. Just have more of an interview purpose. Ask you some questions, what you think of the NFL nowadays versus your time in football. So we'll definitely have you back. But I definitely wanted to make sure we got your feedback on the championship games this weekend.
Yeah, perfect. No, anytime, man. Anytime.
It was nice meeting you.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Go Birds.
That's gonna. Oh, just had to ruin it that way. That's gonna do it for episode number 177 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube; it helps us a lot. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics, and on X at Stats or Politics. See all the great content Kevin's putting out there, and make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. If you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars, as we'd really appreciate it. You guys have been tuned in to episode number 177 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jerry Bell, Jaevon Toddy, Kaz Johnson, Kevin Dent, Alex Dent, and Gary Singh, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats over politics.
Go
Peace.
Birds.